Frat boys. Bryan Kohberger is totally
Sorry. I was listening to my spirit box. Anyway, how are you guys? I hope you're all well. Guess what? That's right, baby. It's the midweek hump. And we are all here together. And in this video here, I want to talk about something. I want to talk about your hopes, your dreams in the Idaho 4 case. Because I was watching JB Gunner. And he was talking about people. He was talking about, like, I'd done a video on the spirit box. And, you know, my thoughts and feelings around how T-Rev had, on another channel he has a paranormal channel. And, I premised that by saying, look, people have a right to an opinion, they have a right to earn money. But I felt that it was a little bit overstepping somewhat. And by overstepping, I mean a leap, hop, skip, jump, fucking pole vault over the line that there is with respect of a moral obligation. But there is a reason why people do it, and that is because there's a market for it. Some things sell. Conspiracy sells. Drama sells. And, that's one of the ways that we, as YouTube content creators, we flourish on a platform by creating drama from the minimalist of opportunities to do so. But again, I said that I felt that was overstepping with respect to the fact that, Sebastian Rogers is, at the end of the day, he's a child. He's a child who is currently missing, and we can't forget that. Whether we trust the parents, whether we don't trust the parents, whether we're, angered by what's going on, whether we're not, it's turned into a circus, and that circus, a part of that circus is that people are leveraging it, I'll get it there in a minute, to make as much money as possible. I get it, I respect it, but to say that you're in communication with a missing child and seemingly trying to promote the fact that they are indeed deceased and you're speaking to them, that just ain't for me. But it brought to my attention some of the mentalities around the Idaho 4 case and Bryan Kohberger, for instance. And, we get this confirmation bias. We have an opinion. We've got the people who we call the guilters, we've got the people who are on the fence, and we've got the pro-burgers. And it makes me frustrated, I guess, because I feel that it's gone way beyond people wanting the truth and justice for the victims in the Idaho 4 case. I don't think it's about that anymore. It's very easy for people to forget what the point of the exercise is. We get so engrossed in what we're doing. We get so caught up in the moment and caught up in the drama of it all, and the content creators all throwing stuff out and the conspiracy theories, that we forget the fundamentals of the case itself, and that is that we have four victims here who lost their life in a horrendous manner. Truly horrendous. And that should be the focus. The focus should be on those four. The people who lost their lives. We shouldn't care about anything else. We should care about what does it take to make sure that the person who did this to them is brought to justice and punished for that crime. And it makes me wonder whether people are so blinded by being caught up in the moment that this is just about, their hopes. What do they hope for? Do people hope, for instance, that Bryan Kohberger is found guilty because that's their safe place? It's uncomfortable for them to think of an alternative. It's uncomfortable for them to think, for instance, that the frat brothers had anything to do with it, because it opens up a complete new can of worms that they may be subjected to, or their families may be subjected to, or they may have to admit places them or their loved ones at risk, because that's an uncomfortable truth. Whereby Bryan Kohberger presents to you the least troubling option. He was an outsider. He was someone who stalked these victims and just came in and committed this atrocity as a one-off. It was a fleeting moment. He was insane. He was enraged and entered this house. And even though that in itself is terrifying, that there are people out there that do it, we're not alien to it. It's been happening for decades, and we know that there's some prolific serial killers. And even those who are scared and uncomfortable by that, you can imagine that they're still intrigued by people such as Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy, BTK. You know, this is just adding another one to the pile of people that have been accepted by society. They are monsters, but they are indeed accepted. They're accepted as the monsters they are, and the atrocities are lost. You know, how many of you who follow true crime know who Ted Bundy is, but can't name all of Ted Bundy's victims, or Jeffrey Dahmer's victims, or the Nightcrawler's victims, BTK's victims? BK, Bryan Kohberger, could have done the Idaho 4 crime. It could be another one to add to the list. It wouldn't be out of the realms of possibility that if he did indeed do this crime, some people may consider that this couldn't really have been his first rodeo, because it nearly was perfect. Nearly was perfect. If it wouldn't the sheaf, if it weren't for the sheaf, would he have even been caught? Would there have been anything apart from some circumstantial evidence to tie him to the crime and some gullible locals around where this crime may be tried? But what I'm trying to say is people need to step back away from what they desire in a situation, what their hopes are, and really try to look at everything that's involved around this case and stop ignoring things that make you feel uncomfortable. Because sometimes getting to the truth means that we do indeed have to be uncomfortable. We can't just get everything that we want. There are things around the Idaho 4 case that if you want to believe Bryan Kohberger, at this point, I'm not saying later on down the line, but as it stands here at the moment, there are many, many things that you have to ignore, and I see them being ignored. I see them being twisted and manipulated to work into, again, some version of events that make people feel more comfortable. But what I'm saying is, sometimes you need to feel uncomfortable to get to the truth. If this was your loved one, or your loved ones were the victims here, would you not want the person who did this, or persons who did this, to be pulled in, to be convicted of this crime, and to be absolute certain at the end of it that the person is the person, and you can rest a little better knowing that the person who did this to you and your family won't do it again? If Bryan Kohberger was convicted as of now and we saw nothing else, it was just circumstantial evidence with everything floating around on the peripheral, would you genuinely 100% want to bank your remaining children or family members' lives on the fact that you got the right person? How sure are you? And are you just playing it safe? Let me know down below. And I'll catch you all in the next one. Just going to see if I can speak to Tupac. Take care.